That's an interesting question. We get it very often. I fully believe in miracles of all sorts, speaking a language unlearned. I believe in that. I see it in the Bible. I believe in it. But I do not mindlessly accept what may not be the real thing. I'm cautious because when you claim to have the Holy Spirit because you speak a foreign language and you cannot tell me what language you've ever spoken, you've never come out of the closet to do it publicly, then I'm reserved, I'm cautious. I'm not saying you cannot speak in a real language, but I'm seeing people on the screen recently today, I saw them, teaching you how to go blah, 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 and they then utter meaningless syllables and say that that is speaking in language. I don't think it is. That's a counterfeit. That's a form of self-deception. So yes, if you speak to me, supposing you don't know German right now, and you speak to me in fluent German or fluent French, I know those languages fairly well. I'll accept that as a miracle. But I will not be too gullible as to accept that you may be deceiving yourself. I was taught by a learned professor when I was in theological school that the nuns, Roman Catholic nuns, when they get the so-called tongues, they love Mary even more fervently. Well, what's that about? I want the truth to accompany the miraculous gifts. I'm not against it. God is miraculous, no question. I believe God speaks to us individually from time to time. I don't lead with that necessarily, but you must convince me that what you're claiming to be real languages, as it certainly was in Acts, is indeed the real thing. Or are you just learning something by way of a learned behavior? I have a very interesting article at my site by Helen Nielsen. It's called Speaking of Tongues. I think you'll find it there somewhere. Actually, our site's being redone. The search engine might not be quite up to date yet. But she did all of the tongue speaking for years. She taught her children to speak in tongues when they were 3 years old. And then she said, my goodness, what am I doing here? And she gave the whole thing up, actually felt better. Now, I'm not using that as a proof of anything generally or universally, but I simply want to know, how are you so sure that you have that gift if you do? Cessationism is the idea that none of those miraculous, spectacular gifts could possibly happen. I think that's quite false. I'm not saying they can't happen. God is going to do what he wants to do. I don't think Paul knew at all, and certainly never stated when those gifts would end in his day. I think he didn't know exactly. All he knew was that at the parousia, that's the one future second coming of Jesus, it won't be necessary to have all of that supernatural activity. That much is certain. Paul did not know when that parousia was. All he knew was that when it came, that would come to an end. We're not at the parousia yet. So I simply want proof that the gift you're claiming is the real thing. Otherwise, I'm very concerned for you that you might be deceiving yourself. And that's a very unhealthy state of affairs, I think.